So today we're going to make my version of a Christmas cake. It's based on a traditional fruit cake, Christmas cake recipe. There's a bit of chocolate added to it, which I think just gives it a nice extra flavour, and I actually don't put too much alcohol in because I don't like too much alcohol in a cake. So we'll just make the fruit cake today, and then I'll come back and do another blog entry about putting the marzipan and icing on. The full recipe will be on the blog at www.howtomakecakes.co.uk. So there are quite a lot of ingredients needed for the Christmas cake, but actually making it isn't particularly complicated. So as I said, mine is a fruit cake but with a bit of chocolate in, which I think just adds a nice richness to the cake. So the ingredients are as follows. So in terms of the dried fruit, in here I've got 375 grams of sultanas, 200 grams of currants and 175 grams of raisins. And ideally you would soak them overnight. This has got 150 millilitres of brandy in, which you put in, cover them overnight, and then they're ready to use the next day. If you haven't got time to do that, it's fine. Just put the brandy in when you start and then it'll just soak a little bit and it'll be fine. Then we also have 150 grams of mixed peel and 150 grams of glacé cherries. This is the chocolate, 200 grams of chocolate, dark chocolate. As you can see, these are actually in shards, but they're going to be melted, so whatever you have is fine. 300 grams of plain flour. Then here I have the grated zest of 1 lemon and the juice of 3 lemons. We've got 2 teaspoons of mixed spice and 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. Butter, unsalted butter, 350 grams. Then this is dark brown muscovado sugar, 300 grams. Again, dark brown soft sugar is fine, whatever you have. And then here, 4 eggs. And as you can see, this is then an 8-inch deep tin, and I've just greased the bottom, greased the sides, and then just put this parchment paper around the outside just so that when the cake rises, you know that it's not going to go over the edge. So that's the ingredients. First thing we're going to do is melt the chocolate, and while that's melting we'll get on with the rest of the cake. So if you take your 200 grams of chocolate, you just need to put that over a pan of boiling water and let that melt. So I've got a pan here that's just simmering away. So if you just put your bowl on top, make sure the bowl doesn't actually touch the water, and just leave that to melt, and we'll go on with the next. So the first thing I'm going to do is mix together the butter and the sugar. The butter should be at room temperature anyway, but it's good just to cut it up into slightly smaller pieces. And then I'm going to use a Kenwood Chef mixer, but any hand electric whisk, if you've not got that, is fine. So put the butter in, nice and soft. Add in the sugar, and then we'll just mix it together until it goes nice and fluffy. So mix that together, it'll start to go paler and nice and fluffy. If you're using a mixer like this, it's just worth going round the sides and checking that there's no butter stuck there. That all seems fine. So what we need to do next is add the eggs and add the melted chocolate. So we'll just go and make sure the chocolate's ready to be used. Okay, so as you can see, this chocolate is completely melted. So turn off the heat and we'll take the bowl off and use this chocolate. So what we're going to do is add the chocolate and then add the eggs one at a time. What I like to do just before adding the final egg is just add a little bit of flour, because that often just stops the mixture from splitting. But first of all, we're going to add in this chocolate. It's still a little bit hot. So all the chocolate in the mixture. And we want to mix this now at a slower speed than we were mixing the sugar and butter. In goes the chocolate, and we'll just whiz it up slowly. So then I'm just going to add 1 egg at a time. So 1 in, and again on a nice slow speed, just whisk that in. Then just add the second one while it's still going. And your third. And then what I'm going to do is just add a tablespoon of flour to stop the mixture from splitting before we put in the last egg. So just put that in, and then add your last egg, probably better than I did. Then whisk that up, and that's nicely mixed up. And again, just scrape round the sides to make sure that it's all mixed in, and you can see that hasn't split because we added that little bit of flour. Okay, so there's our mixture, and really we need to be adding our dry ingredients now. The next thing to do is sieve in the flour and the spices. So I'm just going to put the spices in with the flour, and then we can add this all in one go. Just use a sieve, get a bit of air in it. Put that all in. So once you've sieved that in, just add in your lemon zest and all of your lemon juice as well. And then we're going to mix this all together. Slowly at first, and then a bit faster. So once that's mixed in, you've got a nice basic cake mixture now. And then actually take the bowl out for this next stage. So again, just make sure everything around the side is all mixed in. And then really what we're left to do is mix in all of this dried fruit. And there does seem a lot, but that's the joy of Christmas cake. It's packed and packed with fruit. So just put all this, which has been soaked in the brandy, gosh, you can smell the brandy, put all of that in, along with your mixed peel and your glacé cherries. Cut the cherries up as much as you want. I left them quite big, so I think it's nice to get big bits of cherry. And then we just need to mix this all together. It smells very festive. So once that's all incorporated, you can see you've got a nice rich looking fruit cake, and just the addition of the chocolate I think just makes that nice colour, and it just adds a nice bit of taste to it. So now what we've got to do is get this into the tin. If you're brave, you might just pour it in, but it's probably easier to spoon it in a bit at a time. So once you've poured it all in, you can see it's very full. Just make a little bit of a well in the middle, because you want the cake to be flat and it will rise. If you just make a bit of a well, hopefully it should all be fairly level. And then what we also do to stop it burning on the top, because it's got to cook for a long time, is just put another piece of greaseproof paper on the top. And so just push it down on top like that, and that will help ensure you don't get a burnt top. So the oven needs to go in at 150 degrees centigrade, not using a fan setting, as a conventional setting. Could be a little bit hard to use the fan setting. I prefer not to use a fan setting for cakes because I think it works better. So it's going to take between 3.5 and 4 hours to cook. So maybe check it between 3 and 3.5 hours, see what it looks like, and then if it needs a bit longer, just leave it in. So once it's been in the oven for about 3.5 hours, we'll just test it, see if it's ready to come out. So I'll just pull the shelf out. We'll take this greaseproof paper off the top. Have a look. Ooh, nice. You can see it's nice and flat. And then just using a cake tester or a sharp knife, just put it right the way through the cake and see if it comes out clean. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I think that's probably cooked. Springy on top. We'll take it out. So we'll just leave it to cool in the tin and then turn it out onto a wire rack, but we'll let it cool completely in the tin and it will just finish off cooking. You can see at the top that putting that disc of greaseproof paper on the top just stops the top from getting burnt, and it's nice and flat. So I think that looks good. So in order to take the cake out of a deep tin like this, it's got a removable base. So I've just actually put the tin on something that's a bit smaller than the tin, and then you can push the sides down, holding the bottom, and hopefully the sides will come away, which they are slowly doing, and the cake will come out. There we go, there we go. There we go. And the tin comes away. Hopefully you can just slide it off onto here. And then just take greaseproof paper off the side. Yummy. And there you have your fruit cake. Now, when it's completely cooled, we'll just wrap it up and put it away for a few weeks, feed it with brandy every week, and then we'll come back and ice it nearer Christmas. Don't forget, the full recipe is on my blog at www.howtomakecakes.co.uk. So in order to store the cake from now until Christmas, I just wrap it in a couple of layers of greaseproof paper and then some tin foil around it as well. So just place the cake carefully on the greaseproof paper. Wrap it over. Do that a second time and then put the foil around it.